Okay, well, shall we?
I'm not entirely sure I'm in the position for it. You can
You
Hadouken.
pop
Maybe
in.
I'll do
A shuriken.
an uppercut. Yeah. Ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1.
Hadouken!
I should probably say it. Shoryuken. Shuri.
Yeah, so, hello, hello, folks. We're discussing Street Fighter the movie today.
Yeah.
In the first episode, no, sorry, this will be a later episode. This won't be our
Yeah,
first episode.
we're shooting this out of order.
Yeah.
Because in the UK, at least, Street Fighter, as we're recording this, is still on Amazon. But in the next couple of days, it's coming off. So,
Yeah, so we watched it.
We watched it first, but it's going to go out second last.
Well, I watched it on one of my 2 Blu-ray copies of a film.
Well, to be honest, after watching it, because I do own this on VHS.
Yeah.
I bought this as a kid. After watching it, I'm bloody well buying this on Blu-ray.
You might want to do it soon. It's a limited press one.
What? Oh,
The company, there's a company called 88 Films that is putting out the Jean-Claude Van Damme collection, but Street Fighter, they got very short rights time period
fair
for
enough.
it. They sold the first one out, and there's still demand, so they did a quick second printing. But once this one sold through, I believe that is it.
Oh, that's a shame.
Because my other copy is an import from somewhere.
Oh, okay. I'll. I mean, hopefully. Especially if this episode does traction. Probably won't, but you know.
Yeah, so many people out there wanting to know our thoughts on Street Fighter the movie.
4K Blu-ray press. Yeah. It was. Now, I mean, I watched it as a kid. I didn't see it at the cinema.
It's naff.
But I did.
It is naff, but it's delightfully naff.
It's naff, but I'm going to say it's as perfect a video game movie as you can possibly make.
Like, the bit that always stuck with me as a kid is Guile's speech.
Yeah.
Where he's like, they don't want me to go and do this, but I'm going to go and do this. Who's with me? And that really is a speech. It's not.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the thing is that, like, it's, you watch the film and, like, obviously they've embellished the characters and the stories of, it's Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, it's actually technically based on, because it's got, characters that don't appear in Street Fighter 2 or Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
Yeah.
So you've got.
Let's stuff who's in it. You've got Guile.
Yeah, I've got the IMDb page open, so I'll just go for it.
You've got Guile. You've got Cammy. Let's see if I can remember them.
All right, you do that then.
We've got Guile.
Yep.
We've got Cammy.
Yep.
We've got Chun-Li.
Yep.
And then with Chun-Li, we've got Balrog and E Honda.
Yep. Correct, yeah.
Then we've got Ryu and Ken.
Yep.
We've got Sagat, Vega, Bison.
Yep.
We've got the Russian guy.
Yep.
I can't remember the name off. Pardon?
Zangief.
Yes,
Zangief.
Mm-hmm. Who I love his ending. Just love it.
Yes. You guys are getting paid.
Then I assume the other character henchman is one as well, but I can't place him.
The main, the kind of right-hand man of Bison.
I wouldn't say he's a right-hand man, but yeah.
The Jamaican-y Caribbean chap.
Yeah.
What do you mean? DJ, yes. Yeah, he's a later addition to the Street Fighter. So he's in Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo or whatever it was.
And I also assume that the other character who's hanging out with Cammy and Guile is as well.
T-Hawk.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, also a later addition. Cammy's a later addition. She's not in the first 2 versions of Street Fighter 2. Then you've also got Dr. Dalsim.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. That's why he's bald at the end.
You've got Blanca.
Yeah, Blanca. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else? You've already mentioned Vega. I mean, pretty much that's about it. I got the feeling one of the others was a character as well, but Captain Sawada, because he seemed to be. He got too many lines to not be.
Yeah.
But I don't. But I never had that version of the game, so there's a few characters that I just don't recognize. Cast wise, pretty much perfect, to be honest.
Yeah.
For the characters that they played. I mean, obviously they've changed Guile's background. He's not American. So instead of being a member of the American Army, he's part of a fictional version of the UN.
He's
the
still American.
I think he fights under the American flag, but they're not hiding the fact that he's obviously Belgian.
I think he's American, and they're just
I think he's fully embraced American, but
no, I don't think he's meant to. I don't think he's meant to be Belgian.
I think he's joined the American Foreign Legion and gone with that.
I did like that touch though, that every soldier in this force has their own country's flag on there.
I mean, it's part of the whole mythos, really, of the games. That it's the World Warrior thing. It's people coming from around the world. And I think actually it's one thing really that this film does remarkably well in that actually casting, other than Sagat, pretty much everyone is the not only the race, but like at least their family heritage is from the country that they should be from. So like you've got Chinese people playing Chinese people, you've got Japanese playing Japanese, and so on. They're not mixing things up. So yeah, other than excuse me, other than Sagat, who is Thai, I think the character is, isn't? Yeah, but played by a Native American, which, given the time period and the fact that in American movies and TV and what have you, it still gets people still get miscast. You've got a remarkably well cast.
Yeah. Oh, I've lost your audio. Well, we've lost audio there. We might put a cut here. We might not. But if anyone wants to tell us, you could tell us your favourite Street Fighter characters in the comments below, or you can tell us what you think of this Street Fighter movie. I'm not as good as the thing with nothing to do as Matt is there. Yeah, so maybe cut it, Matt, when you're watching this back, or the audience can just sit here in awkward silence with me. I might take the time to try fixing my light a little bit. It's still a bit dark. Still can't hear you. Yep, we still can't hear Matt, but he is back. Tell us, who do you think would win in a Street Fighter fight between me and Matt? Like, I don't know. I don't have an awful lot to say. We can hear him again.
Right.
You might want. I do not riff as well as you. You might want to cut that out. I don't know.
I heard everything that you said. I probably won't. I think the awkward chat with the audience will probably stay in.
Cool. Always good to know.
Yeah. As much as anything, because I may even forget to do it.
Yeah.
As we said, this is going to be the penultimate episode, although we're filming it early. Yeah, we'll see. Anyway, yeah, we were talking about casting, and in a fight, probably you, I imagine.
I don't know.
You're significantly larger than me, so like it's and deceptively strong. So I imagine one decent punch and I'll be gone. But the casting is like, other than the one issue, who I do understand why they hired him.
He was good in the role.
He was fantastic in the role. He's a relatively significant actor at the time, especially. So when getting funding for this, it was probably another thing of like, he's a big actor that we can get on board.
Also, it's very. I very much always enjoy seeing Ming-Na Wen fight people. It's always a.
I mean, it's a young Ming-Na Wen, so obviously we didn't have any expectations then. But you looking back from, I mean, hindsight's 2020, but she brings a level of quality and class to that character in this film that, again, another actress in a different version of this film, it could have been absolutely terrible, could have been shocking, and yet she manages to get that tongue-in-cheek like campiness, but with like, you care about Chun-Li in a way that you could easily not care about Chun-Li. And considering how heavy the cast is, there's loads of characters. So to make you care about Chun-Li is very well done.
I think.
I mean, obviously, this.
What?
Go
on. No, you can. I was going to take us off on a slightly different.
No. Go for it.
Well, before I take us on that path, I thought like Raul Julia as Bison in his last or one of his last.
I think it is his last, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or at least his last English-speaking role, potentially.
He's so good.
This is Oscar-worthy.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say that, but it is very good.
I mean, the film certainly isn't Oscar-worthy. The film is incredibly enjoyable, but I don't think it would ever, like, obviously threaten to make it onto the into the Oscars. But,
hot take: Street Fighter should have won the Oscar.
I think it could have got a nomination. I'd say there's also potentially an argument, depending on what else was out that year, that it could have got nominated for costumes.
Costuming is very good.
Yeah, which again might sound a bit daft, but like,
I also like the stealth boat.
Yeah. I mean, that
just screams this is meant to be a toy, right?
I mean, this film really, really understands its source material. Like, it really does. Like, and I think maybe it wasn't the film that people wanted at the time, but again, in hindsight, like, I think it is as good a Street Fighter film as you were going to get then. Like, I don't think it was possible to make a better one. I mean, you look at the director and writer, and sure, his directing career is not exactly anything stellar, but Steven D'Souza is one of the most prolific film writers and action movie film writers that's ever lived. One of the few people as a writer whose films have grossed over $2 billion combined, obviously. Yeah. And that includes Die Hard's, Lethal Weapons, both 48-hour films, this, obviously, and a full range of other things as well. Like, this is a guy who knows how to write an action film, and to be honest, with this film, knows how to direct an action film.
It was smart, basically creating little teams of characters and storylines. I think, I guess what a lot of people consider, and I imagine what might have been people's issue at the time, is how Ryu is not
the main character.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can get that.
But if you manage to get Jean-Claude Van Damme on board, It makes sense. He was, at the time.
Well, I mean, he again is, other than the accent, is Guile.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you couldn't have found a better Guile that actually had, kind of, I suppose, at least had cinematic pull.
Yeah.
You may have been able to find a nobody.
I might be thinking he dyed his hair blonde for this, right, or blonder.
Probably blonder. It's usually fairly fair anyway. I think
he just seemed blonder than usual.
Well, yeah, but then Guile was.
Yeah, Guile has the flat top blonde.
He's the Aryan wet dream, isn't he? So, he, somewhat ironically, going against the evil villain M. Bison.
Bison's, and also Bison's whole speech towards the end, the whole God speech is so over top, but wonderful.
It's over the top, but it's the way it should be for this version of those characters, which, again, bearing in mind it's based on the series of Street Fighter 2 games,
which aren't exactly
over the top. Well, I mean, they are story based, sort of. They all have a enough backstory to each of the characters.
Fighting games of the era weren't exactly known for their.
I mean, they didn't have cutscenes, but they all, especially if you had the leaflet, like the booklets, there's a full backstory for each character.
Characters have backstories because you need to make the characters interesting, but there isn't a plot to adapt.
Oh, no. I mean, obviously, in Street Fighter, it's a tournament of the world's greatest fighters, and which, to be honest, would be too close to Enter the Dragon. So if they did that, it would have essentially just been the Street Fighter remake of Enter the Dragon, which would have given its own criticism. Whereas at least with this riff on it, they've taken one of the characters, they've expanded in this case Bison, who obviously was the big boss in most of the versions of Street Fighter 2, until can't remember.
I love that Bison sleeps in a pajama uniform.
Yes. But he obviously, they've taken his character, they've expanded it, they've thought, well, how can we make this a story? How can we then bring all of these other characters in and make them relevant and work together? There's some nice little twists. They've made Honda into a Hawaiian, which means that obviously he's natively speaks English, which means that he can then work with the American news crew.
I liked that team. That was probably I think they were my favourite through line.
Well, I mean, changing Balrog from being one of the villains in the game, because he's the first of the boss tier fighters, to being one of the heroes. A nice twist. It works because they do fit together well, and then obviously they've kept classic combinations like Sagat and Vega.
Yeah.
They work well together. Visually, Vega was like the casting on that perfect. He looked like Vega.
Yeah.
They
all look like through costuming and things like that. It is a very.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, even like say Dalsim at the end, you can see where they're going with it. So you see him get the what in the game is a necklace, but obviously in the film, it's actually for holding his neck to a chain.
Yeah.
So and you can see the beginning of the evolution. Same with Blanka. I mean, obviously it's an unfinished Blanka at the end of this film, so he's still essentially just a man painted green, a bit Lou Ferrigno.
That was the as effects go. That was, but then again, it was the 90s.
I mean, it was the 90s, but it was also
early 90s,
like 94. This 94. Came out, so it probably would have been made in bulk in 93. But I mean, you've got to think that in theory, if this had hit, they would have had a sequel, and then you could have potentially taken Blanca and put a bodysuit on if they'd needed to, or hired a larger actor to play the next evolution, because this was an unfinished Blanca. So this was someone who was still in the process of changing. I don't really have an issue with it. I think I did as a kid. I like irrationally, I suppose, as a kid, I thought that isn't Blanca, that isn't, But now I can sort of actually see where they were going with it, especially with the idea they probably did want a sequel out of this.
I remember it was a film I did enjoy very much as a kid, and rewatching it for the first time in quite some time.
I think it's about 20 years.
I sent out a tweet the night we were watching it where I said that Street Fighter is a good movie and I'm tired of pretending it's not. And yeah, it is. As far as
it certainly is, yeah.
If you look at similar, even just let's look at similar action films of the era, similar Jean-Claude Van Damme films, it's not significantly worse or worse at all than any of those films.
I mean, compared to Jean-Claude Van Damme's films, I'd say this is close to the top.
Yeah.
Like, I think, obviously, we've mentioned that de Souza has written some of the greatest action films ever made. So I think, obviously, they are a step down from Die Hard and Lethal Weapon and what have you.
Yeah.
But the writing in this, again, considering the subject matter, he hasn't stepped down his quality of writing. Like, he knows these characters, he knows this situation, he's fully gone in, and it's commendable. And obviously, it's one of his very few directing outings as well. So he's gone for this, and full respect to the man. Like,
I touched on it earlier, but I do like Zangief becoming a good guy at the end.
Yes. It's very much that...
but he's on Bison's side because he thinks they're good.
Yeah, it's that Mitchell and Webb sketch, isn't it? Are we the baddies? Like,
also, the fact that the film ends on a jump in the air freeze frame.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a trope, but I can't think of many films that actually do it. Like...
Yeah, it's one of those like Mandela effect things, isn't it? That like you think you probably like there's probably dozens, but there aren't. There's maybe two, like, and this is one of them. Yeah, I mean, I think unfortunately, like there were a few attempts to make video game movies in the 90s. We're going to talk. Well, we will talk and will have talked about. Because of the order that we're shooting this.
Watching this, you'll only have one more episode to go, so you'll have seen us discuss most of these.
Yeah.
So far, you'll have seen us talk about Super Mario Bros.
Yeah, which another 90s one.
Yeah.
Which took an interesting...
Which I've not seen since I was very small.
I think I was 20-ish when I saw it last. Again, a bit like this. Because, in theory, Mario doesn't have a lot of story. It's got a lot of lore, and it's got a lot of, like, ideas, but it doesn't necessarily have a lot of story. So, they took that and embellished.
Yeah.
And whether it hits or misses, we haven't watched it yet, by the way. So, I won't say anything, any opinions yet, until we shoot that episode. But I think there was potentially a lot of video game fans then who were getting quite excited about video game films.
Yeah.
And Mario probably let them down a bit. And I think Street Fighter let some of them down, but it got laughed at from the mainstream. Because, of course, at the time, video games certainly weren't mainstream. They were in their infancy as a properly, significant entertainment medium.
It was a 16-bit era at this point.
16 and 32, like if you had like TurboGrafx or whatever it was, and the PlayStation 1 was
it was the SNES. It was the SNES Mega Drive era.
Yeah. Or Genesis, if you're from the wrong side of the pond.
Yes.
Yeah. And we had the better looking SNES as well. So.
And the better looking. Oh no, Mega Drive was the same in both areas.
Yeah,
I was just thinking, I have Mega Drive 2, which was the sleeker upgrade on the.
Yeah.
Let's think. We were doing mid-generation upgrades even all the way back then.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think that because I mean, you go back and you look at we think of it as the golden era of computer games, but you look at the number of consoles that were sold, and compared to nowadays, it's pathetic. And yeah, the attachment rate was great, like huge amounts of games per console, but the actual the sales figures is nothing compared to what it was, and of course the aren't necessarily as widely accepted.
Yeah.
So you've now got.
It's an important era.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very important era, but I mean, you've got people of our generation now who that was our childhood, who are now in Hollywood and making big films and in the mainstream and what have you, and they're fully accepting it and even pushing to make computer game films, like Justin Vogt-Roberts, who obviously, if it comes about, is going to make the Metal Gear Solid movie.
Yeah.
And so, this was a time where film critics weren't computer game players, and I imagine they would have looked down on this as something truly awful from before they even went to see it. So, I mean, unfortunately, I think this film gets a very, very bad rap for actually a rather good film.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting snapshot in time, really. Totally recommend you trying to watch it as well. So.
Yeah, definitely worth a watch. I would. I like it. I like it very much.
Yeah, I mean,
it's become a bit of a, in some of the online groups, and it's become a bit of a bit that I'm notorious for liking stuff that is generally considered bad, but
you're a big Batman Forever man, aren't you?
I am a big Batman Forever man, because for much the same reason I enjoy this. If I'm going to spend 2 hours watching something, or an hour and a half, however long, why shouldn't it be fun?
Exactly, and I think that in the same way that Joel Schumacher fully understood that when he took over from Tim Burton, really he was making modern versions of the 60s TV series as opposed to dark and gritty versions of Dark Knight Returns.
The thing is, Batman can be dark and gritty. There's nothing wrong with dark and gritty Batman. But Batman is inherently silly.
It is inherently silly.
It's about a dude who dresses up as a bat to fight crime. Street Fighter is inherently silly.
Yeah. But I mean, you can have that nice balance though, can't you? Because I mean, with the Schumacher films, they were still relatively dark.
Yeah.
But both literally in the what lighting was used and what have you. But they still deal with the issues of the trauma of losing parents as a child and this, that, and the other, and yet there's the silliness. And this does exactly the same thing. I mean, Bison is a war criminal. Bison is a genocidal maniac. And Raul Julia is so good that even in this campy romp that this film is, he is a villain. I mean, sure, he's a pantomime villain, but you want him to go down. There is as much as you're enjoying his absolutely stellar performance, you hate him.
Which, is what you're meant to do.
Which is exactly what you're meant to do. It's a light-hearted form of the craft, but it is a perfect form of the craft. at least in certain aspects, anyway.
So yeah,
I mean,
pardon?
I said it at the beginning. I actually think this is as close to a perfect video game film as you're possibly going to get.
I'd be inclined to agree.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
we haven't watched
we've got
everything
Uncharted
yet,
coming,
and that's going to be fine.
It'll be all right. Yeah.
The thing is, I'm firmly of the opinion of like, what's the point with that film? The films are so already so film based, like
the games.
Yeah, so the game's already so. I'm just like, if you're just gonna.
I mean, I can get it as a wider audience. Like, yeah. I mean, again, we've touched on the fact that the SNES generation didn't exactly have.
I have a feeling it's going to feel very much like I could just be watching Indiana Jones right now.
I mean, is that a bad thing? Like, I mean, we all enjoyed the National Treasure films.
Yeah, but I don't.
If it's as good as National Treasure,
I don't watch the National Treasure films thinking, "Oh, I wish I was watching Indiana Jones instead." I enjoy them for what they are.
I think if they can make me enjoy it in the way that I enjoyed the National Treasure films, I'll be all right with Uncharted.
Yeah, I don't have much hope or desire for the Uncharted film. I'll go and see it, but I'm not looking forward to it.
I mean, it's got Tom Holland in. I'm well up for that. I love a bit of Tom Holland. So, he'll do a good job, even if the rest of the film is, we'll see.
I think next up for you guys is Mortal Kombat, the original.
Yeah, the 90s one.
Yeah, that would be the next episode.
Yeah, only 90s kids will remember this series of bear in mind shows.
I don't know, we've got some early noughties films in here.
Yeah, I know, it was just a joke, James. Yeah, that light-hearted humour that we were talking about.
Don't have time for it.
As this is sort of a games show, at least games topic, what have you been playing?
God of War.
Ooh, like the PS4/PS5.
Yeah, it had its PS5 update, so I decided to finally give it a go, and oh boy, boy, it's so damn good. Like, I can't get over how good it is. It is amazing. I don't think I'm that far into it, and I've been playing it for hours so far. But it's just good. You should play it.
Yeah, I will do.
If you've ever had it as part of a Plus or anything like that, definitely worth hopping onto.
It's only been on Plus as
that PS5 collection.
Yeah, hey, welcome to PS5. Here's some PS4 games thing. So I don't have it. I probably will.
I'm trying to put in about an hour a day on it just to.
It's one of those games I'm wondering if I hold off until I get a PS5. To be honest, I mean, I've got a PS4 Pro, but
it runs smooth as anything on the 5.
That's what I'm. Yeah,
it's a game where you benefit from the 60 FPS. I think.
Yeah, same with Ghost of Tsushima. Same with Last of Us 2. All that last few games.
On the other hand,
I don't want to play Miles Morales until I get a PS5.
We do know that the PS5 is a mythical console that doesn't exist, so
it both outsells everything, and you can't get one.
Yeah.
Have you seen the new Ratchet and Clank trailer that went up yesterday?
I cannot wait for that game.
Oh my word! How bloody beautiful is that? And on that note,
yes, we shall see you next week
we'll see you next week
for some Mortal Kombat.
Yes.
Although by this point you already had some Mortal Kombat from us as well, so
yeah, because we will have reviewed the new Mortal Kombat.
Yes,
as well.
So I hope you've enjoyed this timey-wimey episode of a show we haven't named yet.
No, we haven't, have we? But maybe we will by the first episode.
Yes.
See you all, everyone.
See you guys.
Bye.